The year is 1934, and in a hospital in Cincinnati, Ohio, a 16-year-old mother is giving birth. A baby is born named Charles Mills Maddox. Charles' mother was kind of homeless, but she ran away from home because she had a very strict religious parents that wouldn't let her do anything. And that is why she ran away and she gave birth to a child. Charles would explain himself that his mother would sell her body for money. Charles grew up with a mother that was a prostitute, would do drugs, and she would have problems with her clients. And there was always a beating going on. There was also no father figure to take care of Charles. Later on, a man is found by the name William Manson, and he marries Charles' mother. And Charles Manson's last name comes from William Manson, but we don't know much about William. We just know he was with his mother for a while, and he gave his last name to Charles. Since Charles' mother was a drug addict, she had to make money somehow. If there was no customers for her, she would start stealing. One day she goes to a store to steal, then the police catch her. They take her to the court and give her 3 years in prison. Charles' mother had a sister that had a normal life, and she agreed to take her nephew and take care of him, since his mother is in prison. The 3 years that Charles' mother was in prison, he had a normal life, but unfortunately, his mother was released and took him back to that kind of life again. Basically, homelessness starts from here on out. Year after year, they would move from city to city and stay in cheap motels between the ways. Basically, they would stay in a motel. Charles' mother would begin prostitution, and then they would move to a next city and to the next motel. Charles lived this lifestyle until 12 years old, and he learned very well from his mother that he can steal stuff, and that is why he starts stealing everything. And when he finds a little bit of money, he leaves his mother alone. Until 18 years old, he would steal anything he could. From keys, cars, motorcycles, to women's purses. But around this age, he gets arrested, but not for stealing stuff, but for raping a younger child. If anybody does this nowadays, they will get more than 20 years in prison. Not only is there a chance that they will kill you in prison, but when you get out, there's everywhere a file for you that you are a registered sex offender and you're a rapist child molester. But since it's the 1950s, he only gets 3 years for this. When he gets out of prison, a lot of people notice who he is and tell him about it, that he's a rapist child molester. And since he wanted people to forget about it, he gets married real quick. After this marriage, a baby is born. But Charles had a lot of problems with his wife, and then they divorced. Then he gets another wife, but under a year, they start having problems and divorce again. After this divorce, he goes towards music, and in 1967, he moves to San Francisco. And at that time, San Francisco was the center of hippies. And you guys know hippies. Hippies are unemployed, they don't do anything, use all types of drugs they can find, especially pills that make you hallucinate, and then they would get together and party with each other. These pictures you're seeing, they're the worst part of Charles' life. But before all this, he was a good-looking dude and a charismatic person, and everybody wanted to be around him and be his buddy. Even University of Berkeley students wanted to be friends with him. He raises a lot of fans between the hippies he hung around with, and he gathered 100 people, and with his 100 people, he basically created a cult. They liked Charles so much that he became a god to them. These 100 people that hung around Charles didn't know what kind of a devil he was. Manson had something else going on in his head. He wanted to use these people and get rid of whoever he didn't like. In Manson's group, everybody used all types of drugs. And that's why a lot of them weren't right in the head. They liked Charles like a crazy person and would listen to whatever he had to say. Like for example, he would say black people want to kill white people, so we have to kill them. But Charles Manson would then say, I have a different plan. Then he would say, since we want to start a war between blacks and whites in America, we should start killing the whites. And then like that, we could start a war. Since Charles Manson's cult was always on drugs, they listened to whatever he had to say, and they would accept whatever ideas he was given. They really don't know why Charles Manson hated Sharon Tate. Sharon was a pretty famous actor and she had a house in Beverly Hills. Charles tells his group to enter her house, kill Sharon Tate and whoever that's with her in the worst way possible. And these people didn't let Charles down. When the Beverly Hills police entered Sharon Tate's home, they saw 5 dead bodies that were killed in the most brutal way possible. The police would say that they have never seen something so bad in their whole life. As you guys know, he didn't even know Sharon Tate up close. He'd never met her. He might have seen one of her movies and just didn't like her. This was one of the first projects that the Manson family committed. Manson gathered the group again and said, this is just the beginning. We gotta continue killing. The Manson family was so weird that it seems like Charles Manson did magic on them. Because whatever crazy thing that Charles said, these people believed it. They kill a lot of people. Like for example, they would get together and say, there's a wife and a husband living in that corner in that house. The same night, some people would enter that house. They would kill the couple and leave the home. Sometimes when the Manson family would kill people, they would write war across their chest. The Manson family killed a lot of people. Well, we can't talk about all of them in this video, but some of the hippies that would go murder, they would get arrested, but they would not snitch on Charles Manson. The police knew they're confronted with a group that are all hippies. They use a lot of drugs, and they have an evil bearded leader that they praise like a god. They had this information, but they didn't know about Charles Manson. Don't forget that Charles Manson created this group and he left stealing alone. He would still steal everything he could. And that is until August 16, 1969, Charles Manson gets arrested for trying to steal a car. When they open the information about Charles Manson, they get very suspicious. And then they dig deeper into his past. And then they realize who he is. He is the leader of the Manson family that kills countless people. But in court, they could only prove 35 people. On the last day of Charles Manson court, meaning on March 29, 1971, Charles Manson gets the death penalty. They didn't execute Charles Manson until the California law changed. And in 1972, execution was illegal in California. And that is why Charles Manson stayed alive. And because of that, he got life in prison. And you could kind of say he suffered even more. He was in prison for 48 years, and until November 19, 2017, at the age of 83 years old, because of cancer, he dies. In your opinion, who's actually at fault for all of this? Please comment.